If you've been paying attention to the business world lately, you've probably seen them. Those flashy 2026 global HR trend reports. I mean, they are filled with incredible ideas, right? Artificial intelligence completely taking over recruitment, radical pay transparency across organizations, and totally flexible well-being schedules. And honestly, they sound absolutely amazing. But here's the reality check for today's explainer. While these trends sound fantastic on paper, adopting them blindly in South Africa isn't just risky, it is a literal legal landmine. Today, we're breaking down the hottest HR topics of 2026 based on insights from VCA Consulting, and we're going to look at them specifically through the lens of a South African employer.
We've got a ton of ground to cover, so here's our roadmap. We'll be looking at the 2026 HR landscape, why AI desperately needs human oversight, the strict new equity enforcement coming your way, the shift towards skills over job titles, the reality of well-being and pay transparency, and finally, how to balance those global trends with our local rules.
Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, the 2026 HR landscape.
What we're really talking about today is the massive collision between unstoppable global trends and the immovable object of South African labor law. Globally, human resources is evolving at just a breakneck pace, driven by new tech and changing employee expectations. But we need to ground ourselves very quickly here. Listen to this quote from VCA Consulting. Most global HR trend reports are written from a jurisdiction where employment equity targets, B-BBEE scorecards, and CCMA procedure do not exist. Think about that for a second. An article written in Silicon Valley or London completely misses the reality of operating a business in Gauteng or anywhere else in South Africa. You simply cannot just copy and paste an international trend into your workplace here.
Moving on to Section 2, AI needs human oversight. This brings us to our first major collision. There is this massive global wave of artificial intelligence transforming human resources from the ground up. And I want to be super clear, we are no longer just talking about simple chatbots popping up on a careers page. AI is actively absorbing core everyday administrative tasks, especially for mid-sized employers. We're talking about AI systems handling your initial CV screening and recruitment. We're seeing algorithms running deep data analysis on performance tracking. It's detecting payroll anomalies faster than any human ever could. And it's even making internal mobility recommendations, literally suggesting which employees should get promoted to which department. It's incredibly powerful, and it's highly efficient. But here comes the whiplash. Under South Africa's Labor Relations Act, an algorithm simply cannot be the sole author of a disciplinary outcome or a major career shift. If you're adopting these amazing AI tools, any automated decision that affects an employee's hiring, their promotion, or their dismissal absolutely must involve documented human review. Because think about it. If an employee challenges a decision at the CCMA and your only defense is, well, the computer said so, you are going to lose, and you'll probably go viral for all the wrong reasons. Human HR judgment isn't just a nice-to-have, it remains a strict legal requirement in South Africa. So what does a legally defensible workflow actually look like? It's pretty straightforward. Step 1, you let the AI screen the massive amounts of data. Step 2, the AI flags the anomalies, the top candidates, or maybe the performance issues. But importantly, Step 3 is where the buck stops. Documented human review and decision. You've got to build this human oversight into your automated processes from day one, rather than just trying to bolt it on after you receive a CCMA referral.
Let's look at Section 3, strict new equity enforcement. This is a space where things have completely shifted. We've moved from a simple administrative reporting exercise to an active, highly aggressive enforcement priority. You need to be very clear on the rules that took effect on January 1st, 2025, under the Employment Equity Amendment Act. Headcount now determines your designated employer status, not your turnover. Now, if your business has under 50 employees, yes, you do avoid the heavy Chapter 3 reporting obligations. But please, don't let that make you complacent. The Chapter 2 obligation, which is the legal duty to avoid unfair discrimination in your workplace, always applies to you, no matter how small your headcount is. I really need to lean into the incredibly high stakes here because this number is terrifying, 10%. The year 2026 is described by the Department of Employment and Labor as the first truly measurable year for actual sectoral targets. That means you aren't just being judged on whether you submitted a piece of paper on time anymore, you're being judged on whether your actual workforce demographics met the targets you set. If you're audited and found non-compliant, the penalties can reach up to a massive 10% of your annual turnover. For most businesses, that is a literal fatal blow.
All right, Section 4, skills over job titles. Globally, there's this really fascinating shift toward hiring and promoting based on demonstrated skills rather than formal job titles.
Companies are focusing heavily on personalized learning paths as a primary tool for employee retention. People don't want generic onboarding anymore. They want development mapped to the exact skills they need to succeed. Now, compare that global trend to our South African reality of the skills development levy and industry SATA reporting. A lot of local employers just see the levy as another annoying tax or compliance cost. But here is the trick. You can turn that sunk cost into a true investment. By implementing structured training that actually aligns with this global skills trend, you can recover a meaningful portion of your levy spend through your workplace skills plans.
And let's connect this directly back to your company's wallet and your competitive advantage. When you invest in structured training and learnerships, you aren't just checking a compliance box or following some trendy global movement. You are contributing directly to the skills development element of your B-BBEE scorecard. It is a total win-win. You modernize your workforce planning based on skills, you recover some of your levy costs, and you boost your B-BBEE rating all at the exact same time. Section 5. Wellbeing and Pay Transparency.
We're seeing a massive push globally for comprehensive mental health support, highly flexible scheduling, and just a radical openness about who gets paid what. Let's look at well-being and flex scheduling first. It sounds incredible, right? Offering your team complete freedom over their hours to prevent burnout. But a shiny new well-being policy that breaches statutory entitlements is a liability, not a perk. Any flexible scheduling arrangement you create absolutely must still comply with the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. You still have to adhere to maximum ordinary working hours. You still have to follow the rules for overtime, and you still have to guarantee statutory rest periods. If your well-being policy violates the BCNA, it's illegal, no matter how good your intentions are.
Now, regarding pay transparency, I've got a direct question for you. Can your frontline managers confidently explain your pay structures to their team members? The global trend says managers should be holding these clear, open conversations instead of just deflecting them to HR. But in South Africa, this shifts the narrative from abstract HR theory to a highly uncomfortable, immediate operational reality for your business.
Why is it so uncomfortable? Well, because undocumented, unexplained pay gaps frequently surface as unfair discrimination claims under the Employment Equity Act at the CCMA, especially if those gaps happen to correlate with race or gender. Training your managers to have transparent pay conversations is actually incredibly dangerous if you don't have an underlying equity-checked remuneration structure in place first. If you just open the books without doing a professional pay equity audit, you're essentially just handing over the evidence for an unfair discrimination claim.
Finally, Section 6, Global Trends, Local Rules.
So the crucial point here is, how do we safely bring all of this together? Think of this translation framework as your ultimate cheat sheet to survive a CCMA referral or a Department of Employment and Labor audit. If you want the global trend of AI-driven hiring, you absolutely must apply the local layer of LRA human oversight. If you want skills-based promotion, it has to align with your hard employment equity plan targets. If you want a flex schedule, it must strictly obey BCEA hours rules. If you want pay transparency, your structures must first survive an EEA discrimination test. And if you roll out well-being programs, they must not breach statutory leave entitlements. You simply cannot have the global trend without the South African compliance layer.
Which brings us to the end of this explainer, and I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought. Look at the initiatives you're planning to roll out this year. Are your HR trends actually creating a better company culture, or are they just quietly creating massive legal liabilities? Don't adopt a trend just because it's popular globally. Make sure your strategy is locally grounded, legally defensible, and built to withstand the unique realities of doing business in South Africa. Thanks for joining me today.